Source Movement by Joe Engelson. Live by 5 principles that will create world peace in our lifetime: integrity, responsibility, gratitude, service, community. What you are about to read in this book can change your life forever, if you choose so, for it to do. You are the one reading and listening to the information. You will interpret it how you want to interpret it. In fact, in some aspect, you are actually writing it. We will get to that later, but for now, my invitation is that you intend for this book to transform your life and forever alter how you experience yourself in your life, your family, your community, and in the world. I know this is a bold way to begin a book, but why would we intend anything else? Why would you? You and I write a book that will just change some aspects of our life or barely educate us in some concepts and distinctions. Why would you want to read a book that merely takes what you have and makes it a little better and a little different? Why not declare big and say, "This book will transform my life"? Throughout the book, you will sometimes see me write "we," as in we are writing this book, or we invite you to, rather than using "I." This is because I believe the only way creation can really occur is together as one. We stands for I, you, us, anyone and everyone. So if creation occurs from the all, from everyone as a whole, and not solely from the individual, then that would mean painters do not paint the paintings alone, composers do not compose music by themselves, and writers do not single-handedly write their books. What I'm getting at is that creation is drawn out and inspired by the collective consciousness of the all, painted, composed, or written by the world's desire to appreciate it or criticize it. I'm not implying that the artists do not have any responsibility in the creation process. They do. They are the ones who actually put the brush to the canvas, fingers on the piano, or pen to the paper. Furthermore, they are also fully responsible for what is being created. Am I confusing you yet? Good. For now, let's see if I can put it in simple terms. We are all energetic beings. Energetically, we are vibrating at different frequencies. When I'm sad and depressed, my vibration is on a lower frequency. And when I'm joyous and loving, I am vibrating at a higher frequency. Are you with me so far? Let's take it further. If you are at a low frequency, the only things available to you are low frequency people, places, events, and manifestations. On the other hand, if you are standing in joy and love, vibrating high, you will attract high vibration people, places, events, and manifestations. Now the question is, who can change your vibration? You. Can you now see how this makes us all responsible for everything within and outside of us? We are the ones choosing the frequency. You will hear me refer to this frequency as vibration, environment, or context throughout the book, and how it is generated by our stories, beliefs, and conversations we have about others, the world, and ourselves. Albert Einstein said, "Everything is energy, and that's all there is to it." Match the frequency of the reality you want, and you cannot help but get that reality. It can be no other way. This is not philosophy, this is physics. So let's go back and look at the example of an artist creating a painting. The artist will create within the frequency that they are, because the beliefs of the artist or the stories and conversations they have about themselves are the world. Generate the frequency, the art will reflect that. Moreover, the frequency or vibration of the artist will attract other similar vibrations, and together what will manifest is a painting created within that specific vibration, appreciated and criticized by people of the same vibration. This is how the artist is responsible for the end result. Not just because he painted it by himself, but because He simply attracted a certain environment or context for the painting to manifest. Simultaneously, this is also how the collective consciousness of that specific frequency creates the context where the art is created. In general terms, we can put it this way: all our results are generated from a specific context or environment. Our beliefs, both conscious and unconscious, create this context. Others with similar context or belief to yours can easily join in, and together you end up co-creating what you see around you, your results. So if I'm a painter and I don't think I'm good enough to be a painter, it will be reflected in my art and my success as an artist. In that case, I'm simply not an environment for good art. If I'm a writer and I have a thought that no one will read my book, chances are they won't. So, when I say that you are writing this book and that it will transform your life, it is because I believe that I'm good enough to have that happen. And if you picked up this book to read it, you are aligned with that conversation and turned into that frequency. Simply put, you are good enough to write a book, and why not this one? I want you to know that everything in this book, as in life, is completely made up. I'm making that up too. You get to choose what you want to believe. I am simply sharing my experience, my views, and my own beliefs. I have found over time beliefs and stories that work for me. I have chosen beliefs about the world and myself that create an abundance and success in my life. I have chosen to hold them as true for me. This is what I want to share with you. I will make no attempt to back up my view or supply endless research to prove my point. There will be no reason for me to defend or claim that what I'm sharing in this book is the truth. It is not. Or is it? You decide. What I will do, however, is make some majorly bold declarations, statements, and assumptions. Because I can. I'm not channeling any other dimensions, at least not yet. I'm simply collecting my thoughts and what I have learned, read, and been taught over the years, and putting them on paper as my truth. I invite you to try it on. Try on the concepts, and if you choose to hold it as truth with a capital T, because you find that it works for you in your life, so be it. If you choose to discard it because it does not align with what you hold as truth, so be it. If you want access to the backup or research that could be behind this book, don't come for me for it. Find the answers for yourself. There is nothing more powerful than doing your own questioning and searching, whether it is from within or outside of you. Your answers will be true for you. It is my intention that this book will evoke the right questions for you and therefore open a new possibility. I am a guru, and so are you. We all are, on the purest level. We are anything and everything. We are infinite beings with full potential. We are all masters, gurus, and virtuosos. We all have incredible gifts and functions to be expressed in a lifetime. If you are not expressing those yet, it is because of two reasons. Either we have not yet discovered our true calling, our gift, or we have an unaligned conversation about expressing and living it. For most people on the deepest level, these unaligned conversations are, I am not good enough. Who am I to think I can do it? Or I am not worthy of it. In this book, we will explore these and other conversations we have and how they generate our results and our environment. We will see how changing these unaligned conversations to new conversations that support us in generating what we say we want will bring abundance in all areas of our life. A quick note here. We will use the word conversation often in this book. We use it to describe all the things we tell ourselves about the world, others, and ourselves. It describes the beliefs and stories we have made up. If I tell myself that I can't do something, or that I don't deserve love, or that I'm a bad writer, my conversations about myself is most likely on the deepest level that I'm not good enough. unaligned conversations. So, what do I mean when I say that it is our unaligned conversations that stop us from expressing our gifts and functions? I'm simply saying that on some deep level, you have a belief about yourself that is not in alignment with who you authentically are or say you want to be. An unaligned conversation would be you wanting to become a doctor and at the same time you having a belief from childhood that you are too stupid to be a doctor. Until the deeper belief or conversation is shifted to aligned with what you want, you will not create the result you want. What you will do, however, is quit medical school, blame your bad grades on your teacher, party too much, or whatever else to be right about the fact that you, on some level, believe you're too stupid to be a doctor. It's powerful what we do. We are masters at creating the results that are in alignment with the beliefs we have and the conversations we are. Too bad, these are not always the result we want. What if we could be as masterful as shifting the beliefs into something that will actually align with what we really want? Rather than creating results that align with our conversations about our smallness. What would be possible then? We spend energy proving our beliefs right rather than spending energy on shifting the belief so we can have the results we really want. We are totally focusing our energy on the wrong thing. Your parrot. This notification of conversations, beliefs, and stories is so important that I want to give you an illustration that can support you as you read on. Imagine there is a parrot caged inside your head from the moment you were born. It loves to learn words and sentences from everyone and everything and tends to constantly repeat everything for you to hear. Your parrot, feel free to name it, tells you things good and bad. For instance, if you were told in school you had a learning disability and would never be able to learn properly, your parrot gladly repeated that to you until you believed it. Or maybe your dad was disrespectful to your mom and your parrot told you men are disrespectful and now you can't seem to keep a relationship because of it. Your parrot can also tell you things that support you in life. For instance, say you were brought up in a financially abundant family who told you it's easy to make money. In that case, your parrot may repeat that, and now you find it easy to make money and create abundance. Some of the things our parrots say we can hear loud and clear, they are conscious to us. Other things said are more in the background, and we may not really hear them, even though they still shape the way we live our lives. These stories our parrots tell us are unconscious, they are there, and they affect us, but we are not aware of them, and we can't hear them. It is important to understand how impressionable your parrot is, especially when you are a child. It picks up everything and repeats it back to you. The loudest stories and conversations your parrot has are usually the ones that don't serve you so well in life. The parrot loves these stories and has learned to love drama over the years. This is because the world we live in today promotes this, but there is hope. At its core, your parrot is neutral and can still learn. It still picks up conversations and stories all the time. All you have to do is train it. Train it to say something different, to tell you things that will support you, stories and conversations that will support your vision and your dreams. If we were egoless people, we may argue that we would not even need the parrot to tell us anything. But let's face it, we are not. So our best bet is to use our awesome parrot to create world peace with us. When we refer to stories and conversations, you can imagine that these are the things your parrot tells you about you. And as Eckhart Tolle would say, to a new earth. 1,000 years from now, this time will be merely a dot on a timeline, which is why we may not always see what really is happening while in the middle of it. Maybe people will spend endless time in the future writing about us and about what occurred. Maybe they will analyze it, summarize it, and put a name to it. We will support them and get aware and write about it now while we are in it. We will give it a name. We call it source movement. We use the word source because we are awakening our planet. We are at a very interesting time in history with an endless wave of people awakening to who they authentically are. People are awakening to something new, something beyond themselves. Many people are starting to believe they actually are divine and the creator of their own reality. Some are allowing God in for the first time. Some are altering their belief about God from previously learned belief systems to a newfound relationship with God. When I say God, I'm not talking about a man with a beard in the sky. I'm referring to that greater part of us that forms our oneness and creates our reality. In this book, we will refer to that as Source. My invitation is that you allow whatever word you use, God, Allah, Shiva, love, peace, to be synonymous with Source. We will explore something I call Source Movement and the principles of living a life in alignment with your vision for the world, fully expressing your talents and living on purpose. We will explore how we will have world peace in our lifetime simply by living by these principles: integrity, responsibility, gratitude, service, and community. Are you up for that? Source movement is individuals and communities coming together for the purpose of awakening the planet with the end goal of generating world peace in our lifetime. We are currently in the middle of source movement. Since it is occurring over time from a linear timeline perspective, we may not realize we are actually one of the most exciting times of our history. We are awakening to our purpose, and as Eckhart Tolle would say, to a new earth. 1,000 years from now, this time will be merely a dot on a timeline, which is why we may not always see what really is happening while in the middle of it. Maybe people will spend endless time in the future writing about us and about what occurred. Maybe they will analyze it, summarize it, and put a name to it. We will support them and get aware and write about it now while we are in it. We will give it a name. We call it source movement. We use the word source because we are all the point of origin, the creator of the movement. We call it a movement because we are generating an abundance of events, a movement of awakening. Standing at the helm of source movement, we can use our awareness to be the generators, the source of the movement. At the core of this movement, we accept that we are source for everything. We take responsibility to create peace in our lifetime, and we have it happen because we say so. If this is something you can align with, I ask that you join this movement and begin to embody these 5 principles in your life. If this sounds like too much to take on or too hard to get behind, please read on anyway. This book will support you to find peace for you as an individual as well, which in turn has you be source for world peace by default. I welcome you to Source Movement. What is source? This is a very big question. It is similar to asking what is God or what is the meaning of life. If you look up the word source in a dictionary, there are several different meanings. We will look at the following 3 translations from Merriam-Webster.com. A generative force, cause. A point of origin, beginning, and one that initiates, author. For those who believe in God, Allah or Shiva or anyone else, isn't that what most of them are? A casual energy, a point of origin, who authors, creates everything? When you create something in this physical world, wouldn't you say there is a piece of you in it? When you create a child, isn't there a part of you in that child? Yet, that child will still have free will to create by herself in this world. This is how we will look at source. an all encompassing energy that creates everything as itself without the need to control it or judge its fate. Source is only desire, if energy can have desire, is to see its creations, namely us, express our sourceness on this planet. So, how do we do that? How do we express our sourceness? We are creative beings, always creating something. The question is, are we creating what we want, or are we left with results and drama that we don't want? The first step is accepting the idea that we are source, is to accept the notion that we are actually creating both what we want and the stuff we don't want. We are always standing as source for something. We constantly generate what we see in our world. Our energy or vibration is always the cause of our reality and our results. We constantly author things in unto our life. So the question is not, how do I stand as source? The question really is, how do I stand as source for what I want? How do I stand as source for love and peace? So let's break this down a little bit. I'm not asking that you believe everything that is presented in this book. Some concepts may not work for you and your beliefs at this time, and I honor that. My invitation is that you, if only for a moment, suspend your belief and try it on. At the end of the book, you can drop everything you have read and go back to your original beliefs. Deal? As a being in the source movement, you are standing as the creator, author of your reality. You are responsible for everything. You generate all the results you have in your life: the divorce, the promotion, the loss of a loved one, the dream house, etc. The concept of I create everything can be challenging for some of us. Over the years, we have adapted many different beliefs of God, our results, our relationships, our life, and ourselves. Most of us have operated from a place of none of this is my fault, from a place of being a victim to our reality, to our result, and to other people. This has given us benefits, otherwise, we wouldn't do it. One of the benefits is that we don't have to be responsible for the bad stuff that shows up in our life. What is happening today in the world is many people are awakening to a different belief, a different conversation. They are starting to accept ancient concepts and spiritual teachings about actually being the author of it all, being the creator of their world. That is how we will look at it. You are the creator and the causal factor in everything that occurs in this world. As long as there is war in the world, you are warring somewhere in your existence. As long as there are people who steal from others, you are stealing somewhere in your life. Maybe you are stealing time from people by always being late. As young as children are dying from hunger, you are starving somewhere in your life. Maybe you do not have the abundance of love that you desire. It does not always look the way we think it would look. It is not a tit for tat concept. It is simply a place to stand as source, a place of power to be able to understand that you can actually be a catalyst for change, the source for something else to show up. Maybe people don't want to take the responsibility for the bad things in the world. I say, why not? If I do, then I can easily shift the things in my life and make a bigger difference as a whole. Don't you agree that if I stop being selfish and fighting in my relationship, someone else will be positively affected by it? I will even go as far as to say that on an energetic level, me changing will change others with whom I have not even come in contact. That is what living as source will do. What a fun game to play. The Human X game. If I was my higher self or my spirit self or source and I chose to have a human experience, here is how I would set it up. I will illustrate this in very simple board game like terms by creating a metaphor to attempt to explain why we are here. Let's have some fun with this. We will call my spirit self Yosan. So one day, Yosan was hanging out in the world We will call the other dimension with all the other spirits and non physical beings. Because they are all in non physical form, it can get a little confusing in the other dimension. Sometimes they don't really know who they are. Most of the time, they're just part of everyone else and have no physical distinction to separate from each other. Life is grand here, as there is not much to worry about. There is nothing to do, to figure out, and to feel or be. Once in a while, some of the spirits decide to sit down and play a game called Human X. They do this because it is the best game out there. This game brings ups and downs, excitement and contrast, and it is fun to play. Many of them play this game over and over again because they love it. Here is how the game works. Each player picks a token to play with called a human. They then draw a contract card that will be attached to the human. The card has set parameters for life experiences and personality qualities of their human. They will then roll the dice, and instantaneously their human is born and alive in the world we will call Human X or human experience. In this moment, the control is given to the human. Even though the human is actually a small part of all of them. But here is the catch. The moment the human is placed in Human X, he or she does not remember any of this. This is where the fun begins. The way you win this game is simply by having your token, your human, get that they are more than just human. Get that this is just a game and that there is a bigger part of us as one. Get that we are all one. So in my case, Yosan decided to play this game. She chose a human and a contract card that manifested as me, Joe Engelson, being born in Sweden with two older brothers waiting for her and parents who loved her. The game was on. When I imagine Yosan sitting up there watching me play the game of life and going over all that has occurred thus far, it makes me laugh. Wow, in that game, the more aware a human is, the more power the spirit will have to create within the game. Also, the human is given an ego. The ego is another part created from Yosan, from the spirit, from the all. The ego's function is to make sure the humans do not understand that they are playing a game, to make sure that the humans do not awaken to who they really are. This is also a fun part of the game. The ego will generate worlds and events that will have the humans certain they are not the ones creating everything, that they are not source. For instance, imagine you're walking down the street and think of a penny. Then suddenly there's a penny on the sidewalk right in front of you. You think, wow, how powerful I am. I manifested a penny right in front of me. We may look at it as a sign of our power and as being the creator. Then you bend down to pick it up. And next to it is a candy wrapper, a piece of trash lying on this beautiful street in your town, and you think, why do people just throw the trash all over the place? And you get disappointed at the world. Well, here is the catch. You place the wrapper there too. Your ego self, which is committed to having you not get that create everything, put the wrapper there. That is why the game is so fun to play. The ego is brilliant as your spirit self. Once you become aware of this, you can start to have fun with it. Just a great journey. It took me a while to realize I was just a game piece on a game board. But now that I know, it is so much more fun to be in this existence. At the same time, I'm aware that I'm making all this up, so who really knows? I do know this, though. I'm having a grand time viewing my existence from this conversation, from having the story about it. Try it on. Teach your parrots something new. So, what is Source? It is the oneness and the all encompassing consciousness and energy of everything. It is the causal energy that creates our existence. At the heart of the Source movement is a declaration that everyone awakens to who they authentically are, and as a result becomes an expression of peace in the world. This is what will have each of us individually be the cause of peace. This is why we are writing this book, to get that we all matter, that we are a gift and a contribution to life, and are an integral source for world peace. Chapter 3: Vision. Let's start by taking a look at why we bother reading about awakening, authorship, source, responsibility, and the endless self help books that line the shelves at our bookstores. What are we really looking for? Why do we attend seminars, workshops, and classes and converse endlessly about why we are here? Or maybe you have not done any of that, but you have thought about it, haven't you? You've thought, what is really the point? How can I be happier? How can I enhance my relationships? How can I make more money? How can I be a better person? Well, there are a lot of answers out there, and many of them will have you get closer to what you want. So the first question is, what do you want? Have you spent any time trying to answer that question? For example, a wife complains that her husband is lazy because he doesn't help around the house or doesn't take her out on dates. But has she stepped back and thought about what she wants in a relationship? What is her vision of a perfect relationship? Chances are she never thought of that. She had been so busy thinking about all the things that were wrong and all the things she did not want that there was no time to get clear on what she really wanted. From that place, there is no possibility to create anything. There is a dead space. Many of us live our lives in that dead space. Without a clear vision of what we want in our life, in our community, in the world, it is difficult and almost impossible to meet the goals and generate the results we really want. Therefore, the first invitation is to get clear on your vision. Your vision is the ultimate wish and dream you have about your life and for the world. Your vision should make your heart sing. I want to draw a quick distinction here between vision and goals. Goals are more like milestones and benchmark towards your greater vision. For instance, if your vision is to be in integrity, your goals on the way toward that vision could be to pay your bills on time. Many people tend to focus only on their goals, such as winning a game or increasing their salary. If we don't have a clear vision behind our goals, something that has us understand why it is important to win the game or what an increased salary would mean in the bigger picture. Most of the time, we will not be as successful in accomplishing them. Your vision for the world is how you want the world to be. So, what is your vision? What is your vision for your family, for your life, for the world? What do you really want? A great start to get clear is to ask yourself, if I could not fail, what would I go for? Many times we are scared to dream and set goals toward our dreams because we don't believe in it, that it is possible, and we are afraid to fail. We are afraid to be disappointed. I say, dare to dream, make your vision big. Here is an exercise that may support you in creating or getting clear on your vision. You may want to put a muzzle in your parrot during this exercise. Write down or think about your vision for each of the areas listed below. Think of it this way. If you had a magic wand and you could have it exactly the way you wanted it, what would you want in each specific area? Get specific and juicy. Go for it. First, health, wellness, personal growth, spirituality. Second, financial abundance includes work, career, professional goals. Third, relationships, romantic, immediate extended family, friends. Fourth, community. Fifth, the world. Was it hard to come up with a vision for some of the areas? Which ones? We invite you to work some more on these if you see that it will support you in getting clear. Notice, if you kept thinking about what you don't want, if you did, you may just have been listening to the programming of your parrot. The parrot is very good at reiterating what we don't want. Give it another try. Be aware of changing the don't wants to what you do want. For instance, shift I don't want to be fat to I want to be healthy, or I don't want to work 9 to 5 to I want a job that gives me freedom to set my own hours. Once you're clear on your vision, you are immediately standing at a new point of possibility. From this place, you can start declaring actions, goals, ways of being, and emotions that will forward you toward that vision. For instance, if my vision for my family is to live on a farm with horses and have my kids in private school, I can now begin to take some actions toward or change a way of being that will work better towards having that, or work on my beliefs and emotions around what I deserve for myself, or all of the above. If, on the other hand, I stay in a place of complaining about my kids' current school and expressing sadness about not having horses, etc., chances are this is where I will stay. The neat thing about having a vision that drives you is this: you can use it to make things happen. I run a transformational training and leadership program called Gratitude Training out of West Palm Beach, Florida. And one of the principles of leadership we stand by is my vision, commitments, and promises are what dictates my way of being and my actions, not my judgments, circumstances, or feelings. I want to tell you a story that illuminates the truth behind this statement for me. The Don Worm story. At age 36, my marriage was failing, my career was dwindling, and I had a pending foreclosure. So I decided to move to Florida and was excited to start anew. The only problem was that all my circumstances moved with me. My now ex wife told me about a life altering training she had heard about and suggested I check it out. So I enrolled. I did not know then that this was going to be the first pivotal moment in my life and in my own personal awakening. I completed the 3-part training in a 4-month period, while in the third part, the second life changing event occurred. I was at an airport in New York and I was rushing toward the gate to catch my flight. I accidentally ran into an older gentleman about 80 years old, and we both nearly fell to the ground. I immediately started bracing myself as I was certain this man would give me a lecture and tell me what a horrible person I was. But I was wrong. Instead, the man, whose name was Don Worms, turned to me and hugged me and said, "No worries, I bet you do this all the time." Then he laughed and turned to me with a grandfatherly look just before he took his granddaughter by the hand and walked away. I was standing there watching him leave, and I suddenly felt an intense feeling of gratitude for life and people. I wanted to give him something in return, a token of my appreciation. I realized how important it is that we act for love and that we honor and appreciate each other no matter what. I boarded the plane, still in awe over the moment of gratitude that had just occurred. I was reflecting on my whole life as I sat in my seat looking out over the beautiful clouds beneath me, and I realized I am flying. Something awakened in me. I felt a sense of calm and a sense of deep gratitude. I wanted to share this with the world. A vision and a deeper sense of purpose were emerging. I started thinking, what if we had something we could give each other in that moment of appreciation and gratitude? A token of appreciation, a coin. I got it. I was going to create a coin, a token that simply says, "Thank you for making a difference in my day." I also decided I would put a unique serial number on each coin so it could be tracked online as it travels from person to person. I was going to make a difference in the world. It turned out Don Worms was on my flight and I had a chance to thank him again. Get his contact information and tell him that I was committed to create because of him. That day, TOFA, Token of Appreciation, was born. A year later, to the date, I had 1,000 tokens manufactured and numbered, and I launched the tracking website tofa.us. That day, I drove to Don Worm's house unannounced to give him token number 1 and thank him for making a difference in my life. On this day, I started telling something I call the giving year. I made a commitment to give away 1 token every day for 365 days and document every token moment on YouTube. I had no idea what this 1-year journey would do for me, and for the people I encountered. In fact, some days were difficult days where I was simply in my stuff and was not feeling it. These days I learned some of the most valuable lessons. I was choosing from committed actions and vision rather than choosing from how I was feeling. Once I went out in the world, generating a moment to be grateful for, I realized how important it is for us to stand in gratitude and appreciation and committed action to create amazing results in our lives. Toward the end of the giving year, I started seeing amazing changes in my personal life, both financially and emotionally. I manifested the house I wanted to live in. I say manifest because I was becoming more and more aware of what I was creating. And I realized it was not chance that threw all these amazing opportunities my way. I was opening a space for it by standing in gratitude and appreciation. I created the relationships I wanted. Money was beginning to flow. And most importantly, joy and peace were now a way of life, a state of mind rather than something outside of me to strive for. This is just one of the hundreds of amazing stories from this year. About 6 months ago, into the giving year, I was renting a room at a friend's house and I had just landed a great marketing job in Boca Raton, Florida. I was ready to find my own place to live, something I had desired ever since my divorce a year earlier. I began to search for places online, and after a few days, I found my dream house within my spending limit. I had just started my new job and was not in a financial position to act yet. I wanted to move in about 2 months later, so I didn't bother to call about it. I did, however, keep browsing to the link online every day and look at the pictures and dream about living there. About 2 weeks after first finding it, I decided to go to a drum circle. I had never been to this place before and I didn't know anyone there. There were about 100 people there, and I found a spot next to a drummer named David. After a while, we began to chat, and he told me he was a realtor and that he also owned a couple properties. I told him what I was looking for by describing the dream house I had been looking at online for the past 2 weeks. David looked at me and said, "That sounds like one of my houses." With the help of my iPhone, I pulled up the house I wanted, and David was dumbfounded. It was one of his houses. Then he says, "We have a tenant living there that is not ready to move out for 2 months." Unbelievable. 2 months later, I moved into my new house. The giving year is a perfect example of standing in a vision and acting from commitment rather than being a victim to the circumstances of life. Circumstances are always going to be there. Trust me. Vision and commitment will not erase your circumstances, but they will alter the relationship you have with them. Think about it. We all know people who have very little money, and somehow they always create enough to do something they want. We also know people who have a lot of money but seem to still struggle financially. It is not the amount of money that gives us abundance. It is simply the relationship and the conversations we have about money. What does our parents say about money? When we are willing to change some of the beliefs and stories we have about what we hold as circumstances, we start altering how they affect us, and we can ultimately alter our results. So, how do we do that? We get clear on a really juicy vision and get committed to it. Vision is the key to put you on the path of living a purposeful life in joy and gratitude. So, if you did not do the vision exercise presented early in this chapter, do it now. It will make a huge difference in how the rest of your life turns out. Vision plus committed actions plus community or team is equal to extraordinary results. Chapter 4: 5 Principles. In the introduction, we spoke about source movement and the principles for living a life in alignment with our vision for the world. Now that we have explored what source means and the importance of vision, it is time to dive into the 5 principles: integrity, responsibility, gratitude, service, and community. Before we begin, let's explore what a principle is. Here are 2 definitions of the word principle from Oxford Dictionaries. 1. A fundamental truth or proposition that serves as the foundation for a system of belief or behavior or for a chain of reasoning. 2. A rule or belief governing one's personal behavior. You choose how to see the principles in this book as a guide, rules, or truths to live by, or you can simply see them as a set of recommendations that could enhance your life. You may already have principles in place that are working well in creating what you want. These 5 principles are not to replace or discard any other principles by which you live. Ultimately, you will choose your principles. I invite you to open a space for these 5 principles in your life. They work. I personally have made a conscious choice to live by them, and as a result, my life is extraordinary and I see peace happening in our lifetime. We could say that these 5 principles have you live as source, but the real question is, source for what? If we are not specific about what we want to create in our lives, our communities, and the world, we are simply just living as source for something else. Most likely, source for the limiting beliefs and conversations that run us. Is that really what we want to generate in the world? Do we really want our not good enough conversations to be the context in which our children grow up? Do we want our fears and lack of trust to set the environment for our lives and our future? Do we want control and fear of rejection to run our relationships? Do we want our judgments, frustrations, and anger to make the decisions in warfare? There is no source movement without the awareness that we are the creator of everything and that we generate the world we see. These principles are simply a guide, a stand, a set of rules that will support us in generating that awareness. Together, we can create peace and love everywhere. I say together because once we are aware that we are the sole creator of everything, we will also see that we are all one. There is no separation. Integrity, responsibility, gratitude, service, and community are the titles of the Source Movement principle. I say titles because without delving into the meaning of them as a distinction of the Source Movement, the words can be interpreted in thousands of ways. Also, community by itself as a word is not a principle by definition. However, if I were to say, my principle is to work as a community to change the world, that would create a belief that would have me change my behavior, a principle by which to live. I'm going to ask you to try something on, even if only for the time you're reading the rest of this book. I want you to believe that living by these 5 principles directly relates to living a life fully expressed and on purpose, a life with you as the generator, a life where you create all the results you want, a life of joy and peace. Be willing to embody the notions, the distinctions, and the tools. If you do, I promise you will see a major shift in your life, and we all will begin to see a shift on this planet. Sound bold? Good. If a little boldness can transform the planet, let's welcome it. I chose integrity, responsibility, gratitude, service, and community as principles. From having experienced them in my life, I have not read a bunch of books about them, nor have I researched them in any extent. Through both spiritual and non-spiritual life experiences, encounters with teachers I've met, and transformational trainings, I personally had life experiences with each principle. Experiences that have allowed me to embody these distinctions in my life. Some of the experiences were through difficult life events such as divorce, alcoholism, and death. And some were simply by being at the right place at the right time. Looking back, I am now clear that I created all the events and that being at the right place at the right time is just me being aligned with what I want, my vision. During most of these learning experiences, I was not conscious of the lessons and the real why of what was happening. But in 2007, I attended a transformational training that hit me over the head with a 2x4 Attending this workshop was by far the most powerful experience of awakening I had up until that time in my life. I became aware of everything that stopped me, learned the tools to shift my life, and understood that I'm responsible for everything. I realized how I was living my life from circumstances and judgments rather than from possibility and acceptance. I got part of this training, a 3-month leadership program, when I ran into Don Worms, who inspired me to create TOFA. I understood that a vision driven life was when I spent a year giving out tokens during the giving year. I got what being a service meant as I volunteered endlessly for organizations that were a commitment to transform people's lives, and in doing so, this planet. I understood what community really was when I started my first transformational training center, Gratitude Training LLC, and as a result, the Gratitude Community. Today, the gratitude trainings are changing lives all over the world, and it is my commitment that everyone attends. I am certain it is the fastest way to world peace. If you know of a faster way, let me know and I will follow. The next chapter is about how our conversations produce everything in our life. It is an important concept and the core of Source Movement's principles. The following 5 chapters outline the principles. At the end of each chapter, there will be some powerful questions for you to answer. This is an opportunity for self reflection. There also will be a call to action section in which we outline some steps you can take to test drive the concepts and each principles in your life. Although the following chapters somewhat build on each other, it is not necessary to read them in order. In fact, if you feel stuck or lost in one of the chapters, I encourage you to skip and read ahead. Something may open up later that will help you go back and read from a new perspective. Chapter 5: Our Conversations. Let's take a look at how our stories and conversations really produce our results, and that there is a direct link between them and what we create. When I say that we all have conversations that produce every single result in our life, on some level, I'm saying that we are a walking conversation. I want you to think of yourself as a conversation. In simple terms, you are what you think. I am using the word conversations to illustrate the following. 1. What we say about ourselves, others, and the world. 2. Our beliefs about ourselves, others, and the world. 3. Our thoughts. 4. Our stories we have made up about everything. For instance, if I'm overweight and can't seem to lose weight, most likely I have a belief or a story that is deep within me about being fat, about weight, or about self worth. A conversation that aligns my actions and my results with being fat. As long as I have this internal conversation or belief about it, it does not matter how many times I successfully lose weight because I will always gain it back. On the other hand, if I can become aware of what the conversation is, I can begin to shift the belief so that new results can be created. Fact versus story. We all have beliefs and conversations about ourselves. We all make up stories about everything. If we can let go of the notion that our stories and beliefs are true or right, then we can start making up some better stories that will make us feel better and create what we want. Again, remember the parrot? If we make it all up, why not make it up great? Teach your parrot what to tell you. The key to shift our conversations about things, to change what the parrot tells us, is to be able to distinguish facts from the story we have about the fact. If you can master this, you will be free. You will be able to decide how you see and interpret every event in your life. This concept can be difficult to grasp because we are humans after all, and there are some stories we hold as facts no matter what. For instance, if I say, the cup is on the table, and it can be verified that it is, we can all agree that it is a fact. If someone hits your car, the fact is someone hit your car. So, what story or conversation could we make up about your car being hit? Let's explore a few. I am a bad driver. The person who hit me is a jerk. He was not paying attention. If he hadn't been on the phone, he would not have hit me. My life is over. I can afford to fix my car. And we can go on forever. Some of these may be facts. My invitation is to become aware of all the stories you make up around an event, specifically the ones that may not serve you. For instance, let's say you make up that you are a bad driver, and you believe that is true. Chances are that this conversation about yourself, I'm a bad driver, will keep generating bad driver experiences in your life. It may also add to a deeper conversation you may have about yourself that says, I'm not good at anything or I'm not enough. You're simply collecting more and more evidence to be right about something you hold as true. Could it be true that you are a bad driver? Sure. But here is the key. If you work on shifting that conversation about yourself, you may have a new platform to create something different that works better in your life. I use the word may because we don't know if this is true either. Here is what I don't know though. Shifting the conversation to something that is more fun could have you continue be a bad driver if that is the case, but could make you be able to laugh about it and not make it part of who you are. Ultimately, you have the key. You can make the choice. You create it all. With awareness comes choice. Unfortunately, many of our stories and conversations we have are unconscious. We are simply not aware they are there and we act automatically. For instance, some people may not be aware that the main reason they don't have financial abundance is because they have a belief that money is bad or it's hard to make money. Some people are aware of the stories but have chosen at some point to make them so real and so true that they're simply not willing to make a different choice. There is a reason they chose to keep them. Let's look at an example of this. You can apply it to any of your own stories. Let's say you're a single, straight woman and you really want a loving, connected relationship with your dream man. At the same time, you have a belief that men can't be trusted or men are scum. You are fully aware you feel this way and entertain many conversations with yourself and others about it. You may even be aware that having that conversation is most likely not going to attract your dream guy, but you keep the conversation anyway. Why? Because it protects your ego. It makes your parrot right. The parrot loves to be right. On some level, this story protects you from fear of rejection, from fear of losing someone you love, from being hurt. The story will push them away before you even begin the relationship. Simply put, you are aware you have the story and you choose to keep it to protect yourself. The payoff is that you get to be safe. The price may be that you can't fully be in a relationship with people. Look at all your beliefs and ask yourself, am I keeping the story to be safe? At what cost? What am I missing out on my holding on to my conversation? Is it preventing me from what I really want? Preventing me from my vision? Is it causing others to stay stuck in their stories too? Is this who I want to be? This is where the work begins. If you can discover all the conversations and stories you have about everything and get clear on if they don't work or don't work for you in your life, then you have begun your journey toward freedom and joy. Once you can identify the conversations that you are, you open up the doors to possibilities and to an abundance of new choices. You may wonder how you can identify the unconscious stories you have, the ones that you are not even aware of. Keep reading. You will uncover many of them by reading this book and by applying the 5 principles of source movement in your life. Once you awaken to a new way of thinking, a new way of seeing life, most of your unconscious beliefs and conversations will become conscious. You are your conversation. Our conversations and stories define how we show up in life. I believe that we are all one and that the only thing that separates us and has us show up differently is the stories we have about ourselves and others. I'm not talking about our uniqueness. I do believe all of us are unique and have different purposes here. I'm simply saying that if we all are one, that I'm part of you, part of God, part of the trees, part of a child, and part of a murderer. So let's go a little deeper, actually, a lot deeper. The next sentence is very bold. The only difference between a murderer and myself is a conversation. Be with that statement for a little bit. Read it again. The only difference between a murderer and myself is a conversation. It is a very powerful statement. We are all the same. What shows up and how we act and are just results of what we say about ourselves. Our parrots are just trained differently. If you can get this, it may open up a space for forgiveness and compassion for people in your life and for people in this world. Imagine they just have the parrot telling them things that have them show up and act the way they do. I am not letting them off the hook here. We are all responsible for our own awareness and the choices we make. However, based on the level of awareness we are at, we may not all have the same choices available to us. So, if how we show up directly related to our conversations we have and not necessarily who we are, then isn't it possible that I could be the exact same as a murderer and that the only difference between us is a conversation? Without the thoughts, beliefs, and stories producing our actions and ways of being, who would we be? Who are we really? How can we have our conversations without them having us? What if it's absolutely true for some people that the only choice they know to discipline their children is to spank them? What if they are not able to comprehend that there may be another more effective and less painful way while still being as aligned with the principles they have? Would you judge them? Would you tell them that they are wrong? What if it is possible for you to be the space for them to see another possibility and to cause them to awaken to a new story? What if you could support them in teaching their parrot some new lines? What if you got that because you still have your parrot on automatic about other things? You're being a cause for their parrot to be an automatic. What if you shifted your conversations and in turn theirs would shift too? What if you could simply love yourself unconditionally? What then? Let me illustrate this with a personal example. I used to have a story about myself that said, I never finish anything I start. I will always be just mediocre, never the best or excellent at anything. Through attending a transformational workshop at 36 years of age, I was able to identify this story and ultimately let it go. I was able to make up a new story that would work better for what I was up to in this world. Now, the story is I'm whole, perfect, and complete. I deserve to create and complete any projects. I choose because I get that I matter and make a difference on this planet. This new story had me write this book in 30 days. This new story had me invent and create TOFA, Token of Appreciation. It had me work with superstars of transformation, such as Dr. Ray Blanchard and Miss Beth Spruill, to redesign and reinvent the transformational trainings I attended in 2007, and as a result founded Gratitude Training in 2010. Moreover, this new story has me thrive in relationships and in the community. To put it simply, this conversation about myself works and I'm keeping it. What conversations will you choose? Questions for reflection. 1. What are some of the underlying beliefs that hold me back? 2. What are the conversations I have about myself that have me create the results I don't want? 3. Are my stories and beliefs true? Investigate from a neutral place. Get coaching if necessary. 4. Am I willing to be wrong about my conversations in order to create new ones that align better with my vision? Call for action. Write down all of your stories, beliefs, and conversations that stop you in your life. Take some time and really explore all the things you tell about yourself, about anything. Some examples are: I never finish anything. It is hard to make money. If I'm open to being loved, I get hurt. I don't deserve this relationship. I'm a loser. Write it all down. Then look at all the results you have in your life that you are not proud of and see if you can match them up to any of the beliefs you just wrote down. If you want to really go deep, list the payoffs you get and the prices you pay for each story you have. Payoffs are the goodies you get from keeping the story, and prices are what it costs you and others when you have this story. Make up a new story. Have some fun with this one. Take one of the limiting stories you wrote down from the call for action above and make up a new story. Then change it to something that you think would create a different, more desirable result. Make a commitment to honor this new story as the truth and remind yourself often of it. You may want to post it somewhere in your house or at work so that you can remind yourself. For instance, if you have a conversation about not being romantic, change it to be I am romantic. Make an effort to align actions with this new conversation, actions that would validate this new story of you. Reach out for support and coaching if you need some pointers. Notice when you slip into the old story and simply replace it with this new one. Make the commitment to be rigorous about this for at least 7 days. At the end of 7 days, write down what you learned and make a choice if you want to keep the story.